Hello and welcome to another YouTube exclusive of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Today, it's all about you guys. We are going with week 7 fantasy starts, sits, trade advice. You guys drop it in here, drop it in the comments. We're going to try our best to answer. You guys can get in there on super chats. You guys can, put your entire roster on there. We will help you out, start, sit, the whole way across the gamut. Snoog and I are here to help you guys smash in week 7. Snoog, I'm excited for this because we keep jumping on YouTube and just more and more people come out every single time. I absolutely love this.
Start sits are my favorite because it's helping so many different people figure out who they need to start and play week by week. There's so many different options, so many different ways to look at it and processes to go about. So that's my favorite thing, as well as trades that we'll be covering tonight as well. Just helping you guys out there making last minute trades before week 7 kicks off.
Yeah.
At this point in time, you should have an idea of kind of what your team looks like. Unless you had like Tyreek Hill and a lot of guys like that were affected by injury, that things could change there. But if you have a Travis Etienne on your team, or if you have Patrick Mahomes or some of these guys that have been underperforming like crazy, things are probably not going to change much.
Snoog, we've been on live for a minute and we have 27 questions already. So we are going to get to as many as possible. Again, the only guaranteed way is to get in there on your super chats. Smooth Criminal says, "What's up, fellas?" He's always in here. Love it when you guys support us like that. You guys even just stop in and say hi, even if you guys aren't asking questions. First one sent in here from Samson David. He said, "Monty or J.K. Dobbins?" Snoog, I have Monty as a smash play. I have him as my number 8 running back. Here's the thing that's interesting for me is I have Gibbs higher rest of season, but every single week I have Monty over Gibbs at this point. You know what I mean? I think there's a time that this is going to take off. J.K. Dobbins I have as my RB19. Monty's my RB9. This is an absolute smash. Thanks for asking that one. Prospect, you know him from the Discord. He's always jumping in there, a smart guy. Cade Otton or Dalton Schultz? This one's a little bit more. I am as well.
Dalton, a potential shootout with Nico Collins out. It's a good play.
We also have a shootout with, they're going to be going up against the Ravens. Baker Mayfield's been super hot. But yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm going Schultz as well. Ian wants to know, I traded Kupp for Zay and Hubbard. Was that a bad move? Zay Flowers is low key.
Yeah, he's good.
Here's the deal. Like Chuba Hubbard is, I think we have multiple weeks here where Chuba Hubbard is still a back-end RB1, early RB2 as they start to ease Jonathan Brooks back into this offense. He's in that 21-day period now to start practicing and get back on the field. So I think this trade is going to be all right for you. Zay Flowers just does not have your weekly upside that Cooper Kupp does. And Snoog, Kupp could be back this week. They're talking about that most guys say that it takes another week for this particular injury, especially at his advanced age. But right now I have Cooper Kupp. It was my wide receiver 18. Because we don't know if he's in. If he's in, he's a smash play. You got to get him in.
Yeah. I'm hearing that they're optimistic that he's going to play. I mean, he's just coming off an ankle sprain. If he does play, he's top 5 play. Always.
Yeah. I have him wide receiver 16, but I mean, if you got to choose between him and Stephon Diggs, who are you rolling with?
For this week, Diggs.
Yeah.
For the rest of the season, Kupp.
Absolutely. And now it's like I have him in that wide receiver 1 upside with Debo, Reed, Evans, Deontay, Diggs, McLaurin, Kupp, and I actually have Tyreek Hill in there this week because we're going to talk about him later, but I think this is the week. Dave Mack wants to know Wan'Dale, Sutton, or McConkey pick 2. So I am not sitting Wan'Dale Robinson at this point. Like the volume that he's getting, if this is full PPR, is a lock for 12 points.
Yeah.
And I like Ladd McConkey a lot this week. I think Ladd McConkey has a good matchup. He had the most targets last year. Cortland Sutton, you're banking on a touchdown. Like right now I have Ladd McConkey at 30 and I have Cortland Sutton at 41. So I'm going McConkey and Wan'Dale in full PPR.
Me too.
What about you?
Yeah, Wan'Dale is pretty penciled in for like 10 to 12 fantasy points. And then McConkey's same thing as Wan'Dale. He's going to get you 10 to 12 fantasy points with maybe 16 to 18 point upside. He gets a couple extra catches. So those are 2 guys that are just safe flex plays.
John Stockton, by the way, Snoog, I grew up in a different era than you. And my 7th grade year of basketball, we did have to wear John Stockton shorts, man. It was rough. It was rough. Our school was a little behind the times. But he wants to know feelings on Trey Tucker the rest of the season. Someone has to catch passes for the Raiders. It's Brock Bowers. He's the wide receiver 1 on this team. Jacoby Myers to me is the safer wide receiver. But I think Trey Tucker's going to have some boom weeks occasionally. But I think it's just I'm not investing in Raiders right now outside of Brock Bowers.
Yeah, same for me here. It's Brock Bowers or bust. Jacoby Myers is like, if you had him in Dynasty and he's just a player that was cheap and you can start him at flex type of thing. Speaking of Jacoby Myers, I'm rolling with Josh Downs here for sure.
Josh Downs.
If Flacco plays, if a Rich plays, I think you could argue Myers with the departure of Devontae Adams, but I think I'm still going Downs regardless.
Myers plays the Rams. Rams are a little bit more of an easy matchup. So yeah, Downs. If you have Downs in Dynasty, I feel like now's the time where you could probably flip him in a second for a first, or use him to tier up from a guy that's like, use him and Nico to get yourself up to a guy a little bit higher who's playing right now. I think Downs is a vessel to move around, because once Anthony Richardson comes back, there's nobody in this offense you're starting other than Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. As sad as that is, because he's been fantastic, down the stretch. Thomas Shelby said, hey, let's go. Nighttime live, way better than the daytime. Snoop, we were doing those daytimes. Thomas Shelby's a guy from the Patreon Discord. I got to read you some of the comments that we got, like, from the Patreon Discord just today. I answered 300 DMs, Snoop. I was a maniac. I was sitting here just answering everybody's questions. And guys were like, hey, man, thanks so much for what you guys do here. They said, you're killing it. My squad went from bottom 3 last year to top 3 last year. Another guy said, Dad, you and Snoog have been an absolute godsend in the fantasy community for us. We have been absolutely crushing it since we've joined that Discord. And this is that opportunity you guys have. $5 a month. Honestly, you get in there, you get Snoog, you get myself, you get all our content, access to both of us. It's literally the best deal in fantasy right now. And a lot of people are like, what is the Patreon? Patreon is just the payment process to get into the Discord. So the Discord set up for you guys to smash with all of our rankings. We are not doing start sits on Sundays anymore. We're only doing it in the Discord for you guys.
Yep.
Oh, he's back.
My rankings are only exclusively getting added to the Discord now. I'm no longer putting anything ranking related to Twitter, just for the Discord.
Despacho Daro, he would say, hi again. I'm trying to get Hall. Does this sound fair? I give Brian Thomas Jr. and Connor to get Hall and Chase. Yes, absolutely smash. Last week I told you.
Brown, I'd say. It's got to be Chase Brown, right?
It's got to be. I still don't care. I'm still going for it.
Definitely.
I think
I'm taking Brees.
I think Brees Hall is last year at this point before this last week, he was the RB18. This year he was the RB13. Last year he finished RB2. He's about to continue this streak. This addition of Devontae Adams helps Brees Hall more than anybody has been talking about on Twitter. People are not talking about it enough. Last week was the breakout. He's going to continue to ascend up boards. Snoog, rest of season ranking, how high up would you put Brees Hall?
Top 3.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. It's probably
Henry, Saquon, and Hall.
5. I think it's Henry. It's Saquon, Henry, Kamara, Brees Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kenneth Walker. Or like the guys. And probably Kyron, Yucky, Bijan. It's interesting. I think it's matchup dependent, but I think Saquon, Henry, Kamara, Brees are guaranteed volume week after week.
Yeah.
Definitely. And they have the receiving upside.
Card Fetish says, how do you guys feel about Bigsby and Chase Brown? Are they decent starts the rest of the season? I drafted them late. Should I be looking to trade James Cook for a wide receiver, knowing that I have Chase Brown and Bigsby on the bench? The last part there is the most interesting thing to me, because Snoog, Ray Davis looked like what you and I wanted from this Bills offense all year. He looked like he was more suited for this offense. I am selling James Cook anywhere I can for a late first.
All off season. I was looking bad at first to start the season, but I'm back. I'm thinking now it's looking good.
But this is, again, an area where you get a first or you use him to upgrade a quarterback or a wide receiver. And in this particular scenario, like if Ray Davis is on your waiver wire, please go out and get him. He's only like 22% owned, and that shouldn't be. We saw what he did, 95 yards. He had 50-plus receiving yards. Ray Davis could be an RB1 if we have James Cook out the rest of the year. The rest of that question, how do we feel about Bigsby and Chase Brown? Again, I don't love either of them. I think Bigsby has to be – I have him as my RB28 this week, but he has to put up something. He has to do something. But I would use either Chase Brown or Bigsby to upgrade my wide receiver. I would add them to, I would look at I'm going to pull up my rankings here, but I want you to continue going on that because I want to give you guys some solid advice on what players I would be kind of moving up for.
Yeah, I think Bigsby almost feels like no Jaguars running back is ever going to be good this year. And it looks like it's just going to, especially when Etienne's healthy, it's just going to be a big, fat trio committee. Chase Brown's another guy that's just a mediocre talent on a good scoring offense that I'm moving off of as well. Just not a guy that I care for. Especially in Dynasty, redraft, I'd ship both of those guys off for like any good second I could get.
Right. Redraft, you have these opportunities where teams are on bye weeks, right? Like the guy that's missing DeAndre Swift this week. You strategically go to him and you're like, hey, I'll give you Chase Brown and George Pickens if you give me Devontae Adams, if you give me Jameson Williams, if you give me Devonta Smith. And you'd be surprised. Like I'm in a league. I got Amari Cooper for Chase Brown and Tyler Algier today. Because I was like, I don't need these running backs. They're never going to play for me. This guy didn't have both of his running backs. One was Etienne. The other was Swift. He needed 2 running backs. So like you go out there and you really prey on those teams, Snoop, that are 2-4, 1-5, because they're playing like it's the World Series. Like this is the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They are all in. So those are the guys that I'm really targeting this time.
Absolutely.
We don't have a question on that one. So, he goes, this is Randall Hyen says Lamb or Marvin in Dynasty. It's Lamb. It's not even close.
Yeah,
I think it's a mid-first separation. Somebody in the Discord asked me today, late first in Marv. I said absolutely not. It's a mid-first, or it's a late first and another second. I think Lamb is a huge buy for both of us. We've been saying that for weeks now. That schedule is going to get real juicy. Or Martin.
Dak beats up on all the bad teams.
He does. And this is the week to buy him. He's on buy. This is a prime time to buy Dak and Lamb on the cheap, especially if teams are struggling. Should I trade Jettas for Tyreek and Garrett Wilson? Ooh, Snoog, I'm doing it. I am doing
Dynasty,
that.
You doing it?
Or
redraft. If
both.
you guys drop questions, if you guys drop questions, say redraft or Dynasty.
Yeah.
Unless it's a start sit, but if it's a trade, say Dynasty. For context.
Redraft, I want Tyreek and Garrett Wilson, no doubt about it. Because I think Tyreek Hill is
Dynasty,
getting 2 back.
Jeff.
Dynasty, I think it's all
unless it's start 10, 11, maybe 12.
Yeah. Here we got a Dynasty question. Debo or Brian Thomas Jr. It has to be the other way. Brian Thomas Jr. This one I'm just going to skip. That has to be wrong. DJ Courtney says, I traded McBride and Jordan Mason and got back Kupp and Tank Bigsby. I have Bowers at tight end. Who wins this trade?
Dynasty or redraft? Dynasty.
I think we're assuming everything's redraft unless they say Dynasty, because this one here. I've talked to DJ Courtney.
I'm taking the Kupp side here.
Yeah, I think that's huge because McCaffrey's practicing again. Mason's on the way out. I think it's really close. You're going to win this trade if CMC's back. If not, I think you're going to lose this trade. Again, we keep referencing it. Snoop put it on there. www.patreon.com/SmashAccept. Best way to get yourself into the Discord. You pay through there, just $5 a month. And we have other options too, separate tiers. I have a couple guys in there that are paying to literally help run their team. There's other guys that we've drafted their teams. There's other guys that if you're in that premium level, because we have $5, $10, and $20 level. $20 level, they have my cell phone number. Like at any time, maybe not 3 a.m., but anytime they ask me a trade question, they ask me a start sit question, they ask me a roster, boom, it's done. You know what I mean? Like you don't get that from any other site. Snook and I personalize this as much as possible. Trevor Lawrence or Drake May, who you starting this week? It is May Day. I posted today, he's my RB9 for the week, or my QB9. He would not be the RB9. QB9 for the week. The only guys that I would start over Drake May this week are Lamar, Jaden, Jalen, Josh, Love, Burrow, Baker, and Stroud. Why? It's the Jaguars. So he flashed in week 1 against the Texans, but the Jaguars have allowed the most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Snoog, listen to this. Aside from Deshaun Watson, who is just, we know is a turd sandwich, Josh Allen and Caleb, 4 touchdowns each. Flacco, Stroud, Tua, all 300 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. Average. Sorry, 2 only had 1. But you're getting 300 yards or multiple touchdowns, and there's a non-zero chance that May does both this week. I think he's a lock for 200 yards. I think he's a lock for 2 touchdowns this week. And he's made other people viable. We're going to talk about it, but Demario Douglas is my sleeper play of the week. Best wide receiver outside the top 36. He flashed last week. You and I both wanted Polk and Baker to be the guy, but for right now, it is Demario Douglas getting the big benefit from May.
Yeah,
our guys.
Drake May is so much fun to watch, man. Like, he's that big athletic gunslinger. Had a ton of rushing upside in college, and he showed that again.
Yeah, and
Super
I waited
excited.
too long. I wanted him, and then I was like, I don't want to make the trade now because what if he comes back in this Patriots offense? He looks like Jacoby Brissett, and then week one is like, ooh, that value just went from maybe 108 to dynasty right now. I'd say is 105. And I picked him up in all my redraft leagues that were super flex or even one quarterback for this week. But I think, Snook, we got to an area where it's like your buy window is really closing. And I think after this week, just like Breece Hall last week, after this week, your buy window for Drake May will be gone completely.
Yeah, definitely.
Jason Veranoa, hopefully I pronounced that right. Tracy in a late first or Kyron contending team. Ooh, that gets tough. Buy Mixon cheaper, but I would argue that I would take Tracy in that first because I think and then I use that first to buy Joe Mixon. That's where I'm at. Like, yeah, I think Tracy's flashed.
Yeah, if I could go get like a Kamara or Mixon plus instead, I would do something like that. But
because Tracy in a late first, you could probably get like Joe Mixon and Christian Kirk or something like that. Like you can go get two assets.
Yeah, because you're probably Kyron you're looking at in that same type of window, that 1 to 2 year window.
Next one, NTC wants to know, do you start Devontae Adams? So I am between. We did an entire show on Amari and Devontae Adams. I think I am starting Devontae Adams inside my top 20. I have Amari Cooper outside my top 30 for multiple reasons. I mean, Devontae already has the chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. Amari Cooper does not have that with Josh Allen. It's a short week, and he's going to be covered by L'Jarius Sneed. Like, the Titans don't give it up. He has shut down everybody. But I love both of these guys as top 15 wide receivers the rest of the season, Snoop.
Yeah. I think Adams, I'm starting. I think he's they're probably not gonna leave off just where they start, like where they left off in Green Bay together. But I think he's so safe for like 15 to 12 points this upcoming against like the Steelers. Like they're not a good offense. Like they're gonna give the ball to the Jets a ton. They do have a great defense, but like I don't care anymore. Like when you have that many good weapons and a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, like does it even matter if they have a good defense anymore? Like they put up tons of good points. Not even points, but like Garrett Wilson had a ton of yards and targets against the Vikings. Lazard did. Like that, it's just not like something that I'm scared of to not start a player, especially because he's played with this quarterback before for his whole career, and they were absolutely lights out together. So I just think Amari, I see benching him if you have a better option, but I'm not starting like a Jacoby Myers or a Wan'Dale Robinson over an Amari Cooper.
I have him at, like I said, he's wide receiver 32. I am starting the following guys over him, and I've gotten some questions about it. But George Pickens, who I think this week gets Russell Wilson, I think he's going to have a statement game. Darnell Mooney, he gets Seattle at the bottom 12 pass defense. Jordan Addison gets in a shootout with Detroit. Ladd McConkey, again, Arizona. Josh Downs. But I am still starting him over Juju, DeMario, Christian Kirk, Jacoby Myers, Christian Watson. You know, like I think you could argue against some of those. You like if you're stacking, like if I'm stacking DeMario with May or I'm stacking Juju with Mahomes, I could see sitting him there, but I'm not going all the way down and saying, give me Khalil Shakir over him. Like that's not what I'm saying. We're still kind of going those same areas. Smooth Criminal was offered Ayuk and Brian Thomas Jr. for Devonta Smith in redraft. I have to take Brian Thomas Jr. here. I mean, I don't see a huge difference. Yeah, I would flip Ayuk for something else because like Ayuk's just not it this year, to be honest. But I think Brian Thomas Jr. you can start over Devonta Smith almost every single week and not feel horrible. I mean, they're the same tier for me right now. in Dynasty and in redraft. I mean, Dynasty, I prefer Brian Thomas Jr., but
Yeah,
I have BTJ as my wide receiver 20 this week, and I have Devonta Smith as my wide receiver 21. So Ayuk's my wide receiver 24. If I can trade Ayuk, if he
yeah,
has
that's
another
what I was gonna
decent
say.
game,
Let's talk about Ayuk. What are you doing
it's
with him
time
in
to flip him.
Dynasty?
In Dynasty, I'm selling. I would take.
Yeah,
I had someone I talked to in the Discord today. We traded. We got a late first that could be mid plus Josh Downs for Brandon Ayuk, and that's where I'm at. Like I would take a 25 first plus a little bit. If you can give me a guy, I would even take Demario Douglas in that situation in a first.
yeah,
I would rather tier up, but I think we're past that. If you're a contender, Snoog, this is one where I've been trying to Ayuk in a second for Devonta in a first. Smash. Get
smash.
yourself Devontae Adams. Get yourself Stephon
Yeah.
Diggs. Like if you do that flip flop, most guys are
Diggs,
going to look at
Godwin,
that.
Mike Evans,
Yeah.
Adams,
Yeah.
any of those guys.
And most people are going to say, "Oh, well, dang. I mean, I get Ayuk in a second. Fantastic." But for you, you're going to get one of those smash guys that are going to score every single week, and that's where I'm at for sure. This one, I can't do it. You know, Trep says Darnold or May. I am always the lowest guy on Darnold. People always give me a hard time about it, but I have May at 9. I have Darnold at 18. I mean, he plays Detroit. Detroit just made Dak Prescott look like trash. So he's got Kyler on the bench. I have May over Kyler this week because Kyler is just, we need to see a little bit more from Kyler Murray, but I'm definitely not starting Sam Darnold in this situation. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, that I would say start Kyler. Like you
I
gotta
have
start
Kyler. I have a
They
QB
got the
14 this week.
Chargers. They get the Chargers. Yeah, I'm
Where
starting
the
Kyler.
that's kind of an interesting one because just Kyler really was a letdown for
If it's
a
not
couple weeks in a row.
if it's not 6-point passing, I wouldn't even consider Darnold.
Chargers are actually top 5 against the quarterback. Like I had to pull that up. Yes, they're only giving up 209 yards and 1 touchdown in 4-point passing, 13.98 fantasy points per game.
They've played though. I mean, they played the Chiefs, but like
we're 6 games in. That's kind
Raiders,
of. I mean, the
Denver, Steelers, like a lot of those gross play good defense and run the ball teams.
The Jags are giving up 300 yards and 2.3 touchdowns per game with only 0.2 interceptions. Like the most touchdowns, the most yards, and the second most, and the lowest interceptions. They have the lowest interception rate in the league too. It's like I think May's going to go for 252 and you know a little bit of running there too. Thomas Shelby said, make sure you guys support the boys on the Patreon. They answer everything. We've been just savages in there, making sure, honestly, every time I get a bathroom break, every time I get a lunch break, every time I, in between picking up my kids in the drive-through line, most of the soccer moms are there picking up their kids in the minivan. I'm sitting there in the line, just be like, all right, who are we going to start this week? Let's hit it up. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Sam wants to know, should I play Chubb in my last flex spot or go with Bucky Irving or James Conner?
I'm going with James Conner.
Yeah. I am going with Conner as well. I'm not touching Nick Chubb for a couple weeks here. This is one of those types of injuries where it takes about 4 weeks to ramp up once they're ready. So I think we're going to see a weird, ugly committee in a bad offense. But I think Nick Chubb by like week 11, week 10, week 11 is going to be startable for you. We have, I'm tempted to play Bucky Irving, but I'm going James Conner here as well.
Yeah, I'm going with James Conner. I think that's just a play.
Dan Gee says Cousins over May all day, and you can definitely argue that one. I think Carolina gives up a ton of points on the ground. I think we're going to see a situation where Bijan and Algiers are going to get multiple touchdowns again. So that's kind of why I'm not going to fault anybody for starting Kirk Cousins over Drake May. I'm just saying May Day is here. I'm rolling him out there.
Yeah.
Joshua Strong wants to know Tolbert, Tucker, Mike Wilson for Mostert in a second. I was going to say, man, just package up all these turd sandwiches for a second. Like that's where we're at. I think we're just past that. If you can make a second and a third, it's even better. Throw in your fourth. Just try to sweeten it up a little bit more. Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, or Terry McLaurin. Who would you pick rest of season? This is a good one. I'm pretty firm on who I'm going to take, but let's rank them. And we're assuming, yes. DK, everyone is acting like he didn't play last week. dude, he missed a 52-yard touchdown that got called back. Metcalf is the guy the rest of the way. Number 2.
Give me Mike Evans. I think he has way higher spike weeks than Terry McLaurin,
Yeah.
like league winning weeks
Yeah.
where he puts up
Yep.
like 30, 40 bombs. I don't think Terry has that in his bag.
So here's the deal with Mike Evans.
Terry is someone that has shocked me a lot this year because he finally has a quarterback that
So
can throw him
good.
the ball.
Yeah.
I think he's going to rely too much on like big plays and touchdowns
Mhm.
though, and I don't think it's always going to fall his way. So I wouldn't be shocked if Terry gives you like some duds.
Yeah.
Just consistency wise. I think DK is just getting a ton of volume, and then Evans is a guy that's going to score a shit ton of touchdowns. So that's interesting, though. That's a good group. Definitely DK at the top, Evans second, Terry third.
So Mike Evans, we were talking about the Detroit situation. For me, David Montgomery is my higher weekly rank, but Gibbs is my higher rest of the season. Chris Godwin is above Mike Evans in my weekly every single time, but Mike Evans is above him in rest of season because there's going to be some huge spike weeks where Mike Evans is going to win you weeks. He's not going to face Surtain and Lattimore every single week. When he has not faced an elite level corner, he's put up a top 8 week all 3 weeks. So I think that's where we're at. Antonio says, I think I'm selling high on Chubb. I don't trust the Cleveland offense. I'm trying to get A-Chain. I'm doing that wherever I can. I think the fact that Chubb's coming back, people are excited about. I would cash in on redraft. In Dynasty, I think he could have a value uptick. But if you can move yourself up to A-Chain, I would do that all day long. This is your last week to buy A-Chain too, right? With Tua coming back?
A-Chain and Tua, or A-Chain and Tyreek when Tua is back. If he's back somewhat decently, the same Tua and healthy, those two are top 5 at their position rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple.
That's why Tyreek's such a buy right now.
So you got to go to that 1-5 team, that 2-4 team, and if you're 5-1, 6-0, even 4-2, go buy them. Buy them for cheap.
Buy Lamb, buy Hall.
Flip all those guys that are performing highly right now. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of anybody that stands out, but someone that like a just example, like when Tank Bigsby was having all those big weeks, like that's a guy.
Josh Downs,
packaging,
like
package a Downs with a Mike Evans and go get a Tyreek, or like package a Downs with a Terry McLaurin and go get a Tyreek. Like 2 performing wideouts right now that could help a bad team maybe win a week and sacrifice this week or next week to get Tyreek. But I think that's a great move for you.
Absolutely. Again, guys, we've been telling you guys super chats. If you guys jump in there, this is where we can actually answer every single question. We won't miss any. We can definitely help you. Even if you put your whole roster on there, just be like, this is what we got. Snook and I are going to break it down for you. So next one, Connor Amrine says, usually follow your rankings 100%. Love that. But traded Benson, Bucky in a second for Monty in a third. What do you think here, Snook? Is that too much? If it's a late second.
I was looking at this actually. I like the Monty side.
Yeah. I think Bucky gives you a solid, like this has a chance, right? Like if Monty gets hurt or if Connor gets hurt and Benson starts, this has a chance to be a real shifting, momentum shifter. But I think for right here and now, it's Monty in a third. But I think if I'm making this trade, I actually prefer Benson, Bucky in a second. And I get it completely. I mean, it's a matter what side you're on, but I'm there where I think Bucky's going to give you nice, solid flex play. And then I think Benson's just that wild card there. But I like that.
Yeah.
Jimmy
definitely.
Sr. says 2 flex spots. And this is what we're really here for. This start sit. Javonte, JSN, Rashad White, Bucky Irving, Tyler Algier, Juju, and Chase Brown. And this is that point of the season where I just vomit in my mouth because these are the guys that you want to flip to the guy that's on bye week, right? These are the guys where, aside from Bucky, where I'm just throwing these guys to the guys that are on bye, trying to upgrade a little bit. Choosing 2 guys from here is very difficult. I have 3 guys that I would consider. Snoog, who you starting here if you get 2 flex spots?
If Rashad White's out again, definitely Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just going to go with JSN because I know for damn sure I'm getting my 10 points. My 10 to 12 points.
I was leaning. I have JSN and Juju in the same tier this week. Juju's an interesting one, right? Because we wrote him off for dead. And then all of a sudden, one big boom week, and everybody says he's the wide receiver 1, and everybody should be blowing their fab and going all in on Juju. It doesn't feel good having him in your lineup. So I would say if you have Geno, you go at JSN. If you have Mahomes, you go Juju. And if it's 0.5, I would actually go Bucky and Chase Brown. Like that's it's not pretty, but Chase Brown gets Cleveland this week. Zach Moss is beat up. I think Chase Brown is going to put up another solid 15 points. Ice T, love that. That's T-E-E.
Especially if Rashad White's out, start Bucky.
Yeah, 100%. Start Bucky. I think he's definitely out. Where are we at here? Jay Spanier, another guy in the Discord, said banger move here. 12 team Superflex. Start 12, 6-0 team. And we were talking about this one in the Discord, but Jamar Chase for Nico Rice in a late second. What do you like?
There's one Jamar Chase because you're.
That's what he's 6-0. There we go.
But the Nico Rice in the second side, if I was rebuilding, I would smash that.
Oh yeah. Smash. I'm with it. Sleazeball says, yo, what's up, boys? Love when you guys are jumping in here. How much you paying for A-Chain? Guy wants 2 seconds. Go get Devon A-Chain. Like that. He was a mid first when he was banging with Tua.
Yeah.
I think he's now like 108, 109. If you can get him for 2 seconds, man, that's a smash. Go do it, buddy. Antonio said, I traded Evans, Najee, and Ertz for Hill and Kelsey last week. Yo, hold on a second. That's a game. That's a league winner right there, man. Because the guy was desperate due to injuries. That's fantastic. When the cowbell comes up, you know I'm excited. Dogs got to eat. Grade my trade dynasty Brock Purdy for JSN 106 and a late 4th. We're assuming just call that mid first because we can't really call it 106 yet. But Snoog, Purdy or JSN in the 106?
I'm going with Purdy. I love
You're Brock going Purdy?
I don't love Brock Purdy, but I think he's just so cheap for what he's going to be for the next. Once he gets that big contract, it's just going to be. You're basically getting a 23, 24-year-old Kirk Cousins, and it's just going to be top 12 for the next 5 to 10 years.
I'm on the other side.
He is the most perfect QB2 in Dynasty. Like, you can't get better than Brock Purdy as your QB2. He's like Dak's good. Goff is like a good option too. If you got like a Josh Allen, a Stroud, a Lamar. Purdy to me is just a perfect option.
You know what the perfect option is here, Snook? It's taking the JSN at 106 and flipping JSN for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is the QB2 on the year. He is the new Jared Goff. So like there's two. That's why I love about Dynasty is you can skin it multiple different ways. So that's awesome. Jaden Reed, and this is from Michael Sasson. Jaden Reed in an early 3rd or Lad McConkey in 3 mid 25 seconds.
Jaden Reed.
Still going Reed. You know, like
3 seconds though.
I know.
You got to have a chance of hitting on another Jaden Reed with 3 seconds. If you're a decent drafter and you know how to hit on your rookie picks.
If you're in there for our draft prep,
if I'm rebuilding, take Lad. Ooh, what happened to the camp? If I'm rebuilding, take Lad.
Smooth Criminal says Discord fire for sure. Make sure you guys get in there. Dylan Wilson, redraft league. I'm 6-0, scared of Jamar Chase's playoff schedule. Would you all trade Jamar Chase and Hubbard for CeeDee Lamb? Other running backs are Mixon, ETN, Bigsby, Brooks, Rico, Dowdle. I love it. No, I would not. I would not trade Jamar Chase and Hubbard for CeeDee Lamb. It's a long season. You have Hubbard and Brooks there. That gives you 2 running backs. I do not look at the playoff schedule and say, I'm making this change now. You know, like I think unless they go out there and Snoog, I mean, I don't know if you can pull up what the Bengals playoff schedule looks like, but unless there are 3 situations that I'm avoiding. Okay. If my wide receiver's facing Denver, because Surtain's going to shut him down. But we don't know if he gets hurt. But like long term, if my wide receiver's playing the Bears or if my wide receiver's going up against Snead, those are the 3 areas where I'm like, okay, I got to avoid that. I'm trying to avoid that. But a lot can change. You can make this trade here, Dylan, and Patrick Surtain goes out for the year. And now all of a sudden you're like, what the heck? Like I literally.
Not even that, but yeah, that is a good point, Dad. But the way I like to look at it is,
it is.
Don't galaxy brain your best players. Your best players are going to show up, especially Jamar Chase, especially CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. They're going to show up. I don't like the
It's
Galaxy
it's
bringing stuff like
Tennessee.
that.
It's Tennessee, Cleveland, and Denver. That's
But
that's
like,
bad. But I know you're
is it
right.
though?
And
Because
we're
like those teams all suck. Like they're
yeah,
not
but
good teams. They're gonna
Surtain
get
and
steamed. They're
Sneed,
gonna lose. Like the
Surtain and
Bengals are
Sneed
gonna
have not
have,
given up more than 6 fantasy points.
but
6.
like yes, but like I feel like T Higgins is also really good and good enough where
Hmm.
like they're gonna be on T Higgins a lot too. So it's not just
Yeah,
gonna be Jamar. And
it's a
Jamar
valid
plays
question.
slot. So yeah, it's a good question, but
Evans and BTJ or Jefferson. I think redraft Jefferson, dynasty, absolutely Jefferson. I don't know. Would you
yeah,
trade in redraft
I'm
Evans and
taking
BTJ?
JJ. Taking JJ.
Drew, I always mess up your last name, so we're just gonna call you Drew because he's been jumping in on all these. Would you trade JMO and Puka for Bowers? And yes, just yes. I don't want anything else back on that other side. There are very few questions where I say no to Brock Bowers. He
The
said
answer
currently
is
rebuilding, but
yes.
want that. Yeah, it's always Brock Bowers. Right? There are very few where even if you said this was Puka and Dalton Kincaid, I don't care. It's Bowers.
Always
Sleazeball
Bowers.
says May with an MRI update today. I keep reading that, but I haven't seen
I heard he
anything that's
practiced in
conclusive.
full, and it's not a
Yeah.
concern. But yeah, I did see
Cap
that sleazy.
Captain 3 Mo 219 have a trade and redraft. I get Mixon for Cup and Chase Brown. Give me Mixon. But I want to hear your side because man, I need those running backs. So this is a very like, let's see what the roster construction is. Cup could be a banger the rest of the season too. And Chase Brown, if you needed a little bit of depth, gives you that. But I want Mixon.
Yeah, definitely Mixon for me too. We love Joe Mixon. If
We
you were
love him.
listening to the podcast in the off season and you were in, especially for Dynasty, because we're really focused on the Dynasty aspect during this time.
Yeah.
We were absolutely telling you to hammer Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry in all these Dynasty leagues. You were getting them for dirt cheap.
Yeah.
See what Scarface just said, fellas. I was LOL when Snoog said yesterday Kamara was his first crush. Literally though, like we were telling you to buy these guys all off season. You were getting them for pennies on the dollar, and now you're selling them for literally firsts.
And that's why Dynasty is it's easier than redraft. You and I have been talking about it. We've been teaching the top 3, bottom 3 methodology, trying to go through things. I mean, right now on my 17 competitive teams, I put a tweet out there. I'm 79 and 23, 3-6 and 0, 7-5 and 1, 6-4 and 2s. And then my best team that won it all is 2 and 4. My rebuilding teams are 3 and 15, but I have the 101 in all of them except the one Scarface has. So it's a matter of like, if you work with these principles, if you listen to what we're saying, it's easy money in Dynasty. Redraft is fun. Dynasty is just that next level. Ben Gagne, he wants to know, are we crowning Brian Robinson as a high-end RB2 rest of the season? No, I'm not. Snoop?
I think so.
You
I'm
think
coming
so?
around on him. I think he's a little bit touchdown or bust, but they they get there a lot. And like
They do. It's all touchdowns.
They have a really good running back. Like him and Austin are just such a fun duo. Like they both offer such a different skill set.
All right, well let's go over this because we're saying to say a high, it's got to be top 15. I mean, Henry, Barkley, Kyron, Brees, Bijan, Walker, Mixon, Monty, Taylor, whoever's on San Francisco, Gibbs, Kamara, Jacobs. I would still take Jacobs. That's 14 guys. So now you have to say I have him as RB 17, but I think Cook is better.
You're taking Bijan over him.
100%. Yeah, that was. And we're missing bye week guys in there. But I mean, I think but A-Chain gets, I mean, I have to take A-Chain over him too. So he's like RB 16, 17 for me. So, I mean, that doesn't go high end RB2. That's middle. But now we're just splitting hairs. Did I lose big on this trade? Marvin Harrison Jr. and Bucky Irving for DK Metcalf? No. I mean, Marvin has yet to totally prove it. Metcalf is a top 10 wide receiver rest of the way. So, I mean, I can see either side of this if you needed a little bit of bump on the flex. But for me, I'm going Metcalf.
It's tough for me because I think Marv is going to be that, especially because we always in the past have seen rookie wide receivers absolutely dominating through that latter half of the year, like that last 6 to 8 games. Especially last year, we saw it with Jaden Reed, Puka, Rashee Rice. I think Marvin and BTJ are like Neighbors is a given. He's just dominating right now. But Marvin and BTJ are two guys that, in redraft perspective, I could see absolutely ripping off towards that like last 5 to 6 stretch games of the year. But that's just my opinion on Marv. So I think he's a great buy low. If you're a 6-0
Yeah.
team, 5-1 team right now, you're not going to get him for cheap, but he's a good buy low right now.
Sleazeball, I love it. He dropped a $5 super chat in
Let's
there.
go,
Thanks so much,
Sleaze.
brother. You know, if you guys don't, you guys got to check it out. My Mind is a Weapon fantasy football podcast. He's got the podcast. He's got the YouTube. Tough question time. He said full PPR: Pittman, Pickens, Chase Brown, Tank Dell, ETN. Looks like ETN might play after all. Pick 2. So for me, I'm going Pickens and Tank Dell. I think Pickens he's the sneaky guy there. I think Pickens with Russell Wilson is good. I think Tank Dell looked a little bit more like himself this week, and Tank Dell is going to be a guy that I think is going to
play.
Yeah.
I think Tank's the glaring, yes, definitely play him as one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the second one you could just, I don't think
it's not Pittman.
ETN, he said ETN, if ETN plays, I'd probably start ETN.
Over Pickens? I'm not starting ETN again for a while.
It's definitely not Pittman. It's definitely not Chase Brown. So I'm literally probably looking at Vegas sports books and seeing where they have the lines on Pickens and ETN, what the over-unders are in those games.
Yeah.
And making my decision like that or flipping a coin. But I've definitely taken Tank down. I'm probably leaning ETN there for me personally.
Well, and Sleazeball and I got a bet going who has more points. It's looking ugly right now. Curtis Samuel or Keon Coleman. Maybe we do one Snook where we do a little bet here on George Pickens versus ETN this week. Crazy Connor with 2 Z's. Pick 2 this week. A-Chain, Jacobs, and T. I'm not playing A-Chain yet. I'm just not. I think it's Jacobs and T for me. He is a must start
since he's come back.
He's been fantastic.
He's gonna get that bag. He's gonna have some weeks where he drops 25 plus and scores 2 touchdowns. That's just what T. Higgins has always been like.
Yeah,
but he's been consistent this year, which is very, 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 very key.
Snook, we have like 200 questions on here. Like I'm trying to get to as many. The only way to get them in there, guys.
I was gonna say we just got to the sleazeball ones that were way up there, and I saw
we got a comment on here from Joe Rico, my goat. Love you, brother. He's an awesome guy. You got to make sure.
Marathons now.
Yeah, he's putting us all to shame. We're doing dynasty marathons. Here we go. Ryan Cassandra, trade Kincaid for Evans in tight end premium dynasty. No, I'm going to keep rolling with Kincaid. Just the value is so much different in dynasty for me. What about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go with Evans here.
Really?
If I'm contending, I'm at the point in my head now where I'm like, I'm fine losing a trade value-wise if it's going to bring me points to the table, because Kincaid's a stud. I think he'll be fine, but like, if we just look at in the past, there's some of these guys, like remember when Darnell Mooney
you
was
tear up.
Value,
this is why we're saying,
and like some of these
I told guys
like,
we trade Kincaid plus Ayuk to get Bowers. You trade, you tear up right now. If you came to me and offered me Kittle for Kincaid and I'm a contender, and a point for, then I'm going to take it. But I'm not taking Evans. I'm not there because Evans goes down, that dies. Daniel Malum wants to know, pick 2. Amari Cooper, Jalen Waddle, Javonte Williams, Bucky Irving, and Evan Ingram.
Amari Cooper, Ingram.
Evan Ingram and Bucky Irving for me. Amari Cooper, I'm just saying.
If Rashad White plays and then Sean Tucker had a really good week, I just feel like it's like, might be a little bit of a rotation, but.
Hyperette says Olave's out, starting Juju at wide receiver this week. Judy, Douglas, or Means at flex.
Douglas.
I like Douglas. Judy's low key in my 40s, but Douglas is the guy for me. I think Douglas and Means is kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like, Bub Means, he just out of nowhere, but they have nothing right now. At least Surtain is out, so they have a little bit of an opportunity, but, here we are. I'm going with Douglas as well. Finn Morris said, traded Saquon for Devonta Smith in Dynasty. Wide receivers fell really shallow, but I still have Mixon, Henry, Kamara, Dobbins, Eckler for running backs. I have Saquon above Devonta Smith, but Devonta Smith is safer than Saquon Barkley. Devonta goes down to injury. That value is still pretty insulated. Saquon's not, but I still think Snoog, I would want Devonta in a second for Saquon, or even a 2-3 swap. It's not a bad trade. It's just not one that I make. And this is one where Snoog, I always say it, make it a 2 for 2. Give up Saquon and a wide receiver you don't want for Devonta and a running back you do want. This is just, I'm not wild on it, but it's not bad.
Yeah, I agree. I think Saquon Barkley's RB1 overall rest of the season, and I think he's just going to be an absolute star where he's a league winner. So I'm fine.
Mhm.
Just like, even if I have to give up like a Brandon Ayuk, a guy that a lot of people love. People had him as a top 12 dynasty wide receiver. Even if I have to add on someone like that who would be valued over Saquon Barkley in the offseason, it ain't the offseason no more. It's time to win championships. So it's okay to lose a trade upfront value-wise to go get a championship. Like, everyone keeps saying, like, Kamara was worth a second in the offseason. Like, do I give up a first now, or do I give up Jaden Reed for Kamara in a second, or Kamara in a first for Jaden Reed in a second? I got that question a couple of times in the Discord. I was like, if I'm contending and I need a running back too, and like I have Breece Hall and I need Kamara to put me over the top, smashing it. Like, no questions asked.
Carlos wants to know Kyler or Sam Darnold. It's Kyler. I just can't do it. I can't move off of there. Snoog, we have so many questions. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something a little wild. I want to get your opinion here. Next super chat that jumps in, giving them a free month of the Discord. What do you think?
I like it.
Let's do it. Next person to come in with the super chat, because I have 200 plus questions here. We're trying to get through them. Snoog and I are not going to stay up till midnight, but we're going to crank as many as we can. Should I trade Zay Flowers and Chubb for A-Chain and redraft? Yes. The guy is 1-5. Go out there and steal from him. Tyler Hero's burner account.
Kraft.
Juwan Johnson or Tucker Kraft? It's Tucker Kraft, not even.
You got a Jordan Love you got a Jordan Love profile picture, and you're asking us that question?
It's Tucker Kraft. Scarface wants to know Eckler or Bigsby this week. We're not going to agree
Eckler.
Here. Bigsby.
Oh, if Etienne's out, Bigsby, but I'm starting Eckler. If not, you guaranteed like 10 to 12 points with upside.
Yeah, and it's Baltimore, so they're
going to play.
Baltimore. So it's going to. No, they just played Baltimore. Who do they play? Give me 1 second. Because that one, I don't have like any Commanders anywhere. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, they got the Panthers. Start
okay.
Start Eckler. He'll get in the end zone.
I think we are overthinking here. Otten or Mark Andrews from Deegs. It's Andrews. Andrews showed out again last week. I think you're back with him. He also asked another question: Jamo or Mason or Pickens? It's Mason.
If he's healthy.
If he's healthy. Jamo's a beautiful play this week. Like, I think that's going to be a shootout with the Vikings.
Ooh,
Vikings.
Vikings.
Yeah. Vikings are tough, though. Vikings are tough. They are you can beat them through the air. Again, guys, first super chat that comes in, you're getting a month of Discord. So you're paying $2 for a $5 shot.
We have
I got a couple more here.
Yeah, real quick. We have Minnesota, Detroit.
Yeah.
And then we have Kansas City 49ers. And then we have
Dude,
Texans,
it's a sweet slate.
Texans Packers.
It's a sweet slate. Crazy Connor says
Kamara plays on Thursday Night Football tomorrow. Good
All
day.
right, we got Brett Collins here on YouTube. He's got a 12-team, one-quarterback dynasty. Send Olave, Tyreek, and Monty for A-Chain, Reed, and Kittle. I'm weak AF at tight end. Thanks. P.S. That skull cap is BA. It's a Hurley. We got a little bit there. I'm trying to Snooks. Everybody always says Snooks just got a little bit more style than me. I'm rocking the polo usually. Snooks usually got the jersey on there. So thank you, Brett. So what are we going to talk about here? Olave, Tyreek, and Monty, or A-Chain, Reed, and Kittle? I wondered how weak he is at tight end. Like, are we talking? Let's see. Let's break it down real quick. Reed and Kittle are very similar. I'm sorry, Reed and Tyreek.
Olave.
And I think Reed and Tyreek are almost interchangeable. I want the Kittle side.
I'm taking Tyreek over Reed, but I'm taking Kittle over Monty.
But they're in that same area.
Especially if you're weak at tight end and you're a contender.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a very fair trade. You could go either way with that. That's a team needs type of trade.
D wants to know who is a good defensive streamer this week. So last week I was really preaching to everybody. We had it on here where I was saying the Texans were a top 5 scoring defense last week. You always want to just pick Buffalo plays Tennessee. That is the big one. You want anybody that plays Will Levis. Denver goes up against Spencer Rattler in New Orleans if they're still around. Cincinnati is highly available. I think they're a streamer against Cleveland. I also like,
the Broncos defense tomorrow night
Bronco,
against the
Broncos.
Saints without Olave
Yes.
and Shaheed.
Well, and on the other side, I'm also taking, if you're really deep, I'm also taking New Orleans against Denver. Short week. I think, Knicks will have a turnover or two, but you're always trying
Yeah.
to look at those guys that are going in that way. Shout out to Andrew Herlock, joined the Patreon as we're speaking. So shout out to him. That's awesome. Right now, Carlos says he's benching Hunt this week and starting Tank Dell and Reed. My starting wide receivers are Jetta and Cup. Right move to bench Hunt. I think this is if Cup plays, you're playing him. I think this is the right call. But if he doesn't, absolutely. I mean, Hunt versus Dell is an interesting one. I think Hunt is a lock for 12 points. I think Dell could put up 15. Next one.
Sleaze just did a super chat and said, "Give it to someone in the chat." Why the Sam Darnold hate?
Dude, what a goat!
I think if it's 6 point, I think this game's gonna be a shootout. Like he said, yes, I like what Sleaze said. Hutch is out, pressure will be down. I think Sam Darnold's gonna have a big week this week. I'm just gonna start Kyler over him. But if it's 6 point passing, I think Darnold's gonna have a good week. I like Darnold this week. I have him in a few leagues that I'm playing him.
Yeah, Darnold's been rock solid.
Hawk, is Hawk back? Hawk's back.
He's been practicing. I don't think he's 100% back this week. Sleaze, I'm a little bit more worried about Detroit. Detroit absolutely shut down Dak. Detroit is a very good defense. I thank you so much for the support. For real, first person that puts in the group chat hashtag smash
not
accept,
even, not
we
even
will get
that.
you in there.
Everyone knows Kamara's my favorite player. First person to comment my second favorite player is getting the free month from Sleaze for the Discord. You're getting a free month in the Discord. My second favorite player. It ain't Kamara. He's my first. Who's my second favorite player?
All right. Finn Morris says, "Hey, was I first? You were. Just made a trade in Dynasty, so we'll definitely get you in there, brother.
Yeah, you too.
Just made a trade in the Dynasty League. Saquon for Smith. I'm 5-1, and I have Kamara, Henry, Mixon, Dobbins, shallow wide receiver. Dude, he's reaching out to your heartstrings here, going with Kamara and Henry and Mixon on the same team. Yeah, I mean, this is the same kind of thing. You get a little bit less risk. Finn, I will make sure you guys make sure you hit me up in the DMs. I'll get you set up with that. And then once we get that first one to put hashtag smash accept or Snoogs, second favorite player.
Super Hot said Austin Eckler. He's more than my favorite player. Austin Eckler's my man. He's my most favorite player there is. Best guy around.
Love that. We got a couple. Tomas Dejedo says, "Hello, fellas. Yesterday I traded Montgomery in a third for Jalen Wright in a first. Both picks 25. I'm doing that. Give me the first. I mean, Monty's not worth a first. So if you can get Jalen Wright in there, I'm with that for sure. Like as much as I absolutely love Montgomery, if you get in a first, you're doing it. Here's where the line draws. Do you start? Okay. Do you start Brock Purdy or Drake May this week? Purdy plays the Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes shows out against San Francisco this week, but I think Purdy struggles, and I actually have May one spot higher. You're gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm doing it.
I have Purdy. I'm going Purdy. I know it's the Chiefs, but I'm going Purdy. I think the 49ers bounce back, and I think they beat the brakes off the Chiefs in a revenge game.
Yeah, no, I can see it. Connor Wilson says sit one, and I like these sometimes. Half PPR. So in half PPR, Brian Robinson Jr., J.K. Dobbins, and David Montgomery. David Montgomery's playing
best
for sure.
Chance to score.
And then you talk about 0.5, Snoog. That's
B-Rob.
what it is, right?
Another touchdown.
I have him and Dobbins in the same tier, but I am also going B-Rob, and I think that's a pretty valid question. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Super Hot knows me well. Jameer Gibbs, 2A, 2B. You're getting close, Super Hot. Gibbs is third. Who's second?
Shane Yoho says Adams in a mid 25 first or a Dunze in a late 25 second. So I'm smashing Adams here because I think this is an absolute. I'm paying a mid first for Odunze, but now you're getting Devontae Adams for a second.
Yeah, I'm taking.
You're getting Adams, and this is a smart trade. This is a smash accept type move where you're just out thinking. We've been saying it a lot, Snoog. We were just saying something similar to this, where we were saying give up, player X and a first for the second, and you end up winning here. And I think this is a huge trade. I love it. Brett Collins says likely was the tight end one on his team. Yeah, go get Kittle for sure. At Call Me Low says Tank, Dell, and Reed are in my flex spots. I think we were already hitting that one up. At Jay wants to know Bigsby or A Chain. It's got to be A Chain. You know what I mean? Like that's really where we're at.
Sure.
I can't go Bigsby there even if he's
chain. Yeah, it's out chain.
Ayuk or JSN.
Ayuk.
Yeah, not even close for me on that one. I'm perfectly going on that. I have no issues there starting him. Moving down to the next guys. You guys are crushing it. You guys are just beating
I was
up
gonna
here.
say I'm just seeing this and it's like wow.
Sleazeball again. We beat the brakes off the Chiefs 100%. Mahomes struggling. Hey, maybe we'll do a little double or nothing here, but that'll be a good game, buddy. Super Hot wants to know Stroud or Baker. I have Baker above Stroud this week. You're gonna hate me, but the matchups really matter. I mean, like if you look at who we're going up against, I think Baker Mayfield is the QB2 on the season. You just can't take him out of the lineup right now. Snoop, sell me on Stroud.
Kyler. It's Stroud.
It's not Kyler. It's not Kyler.
It's Stroud for me.
You
Super Hot. Speaking of my second favorite player, it's Stroud.
So Stroud versus Green Bay, or you look at Baker is going up. Baltimore is giving up in the second most fantasy points.
Yeah, Baker has those stinker games though, like he did against Denver, where it's just like
Robert Reynolds says Todd Gurley.
Nah, it's CJ Stroud.
Man, Todd Gurley losing those knees. Mark Fisher wants to know A-Chain or Flowers at flex. I'm going Flowers. Unless we got to see it again from A-Chain. Flowers has been really, really good. He's been, had those opportunities. Kemba Walker Burner says, do y'all think Ray Davis takes work from Cook, or will Cook go back to full-time starters? Cook is the starter.
Cook's the starter, but I think
he's not going to supplant him, but you might have more of a Braylon Allen type thing that we had early in the season with Breece Hall, maybe a 65-35. He's definitely earned a little bit more play. Darren Enderlide, Juju or Bucky and flex? It's Bucky. I know you've been against when I say Bucky, but can you argue this one?
Yeah, it's Bucky.
Yeah.
I like Bucky. I just think if White's back, I just don't like when it's like a big committee room. Even though I think Bucky's the best player in that room. But now Sean Tucker looks amazing running the football, and then it's like, are they gonna just ride who's got the hot hand? And I just hate that. I'd rather
Sean Tucker's
other guys, but
big time selling dynasty.
If he never
process over results.
If he never had that heart issue,
I liked him coming out.
Yeah, he would have been a day 2 pick.
He was a late first before the draft process. I had him at like 112 to 203, and they just kept falling. Adams and Robinson.
Go ahead. He was like a Raheem Mostert, I was going to say. Just a speedy guy.
Snow's Golf Quest wants to know Devontae Adams and Robinson Jr. or JT. Do it. Do I do it? Here's the deal. If you are
Adams.
I love Jonathan Taylor, but I'm taking Adams.
B-Rob's getting you 15 points a week, guaranteed. And then you just get Adams there, too. It's just like, JT's been pissing me off lately. I got him in a couple of my important leagues, and I got him selling because of all the injuries he's had.
Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for him to come back, and I'm selling.
He gives you 19 and then 20. Then he gives you like 150 yards rushing, 0 touchdowns. You get 15. Then he gets you 100 rushing yards, no touchdown, 10. And then it's like he gives you 30, looks amazing, best player. And then he gets hurt. And it's like, all right, I'm back to square one with you.
JD Sakura, Dynasty Trade. It looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown or JT and Kittle. I got to take JT and Kittle there, though. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, but really depending. If I'm rebuilding, I would rather have St. Brown than the pair. But that's an interesting one. PC, start JMO or Mooney. It's JMO. I am starting JMO everywhere I can. Both of these guys, right? I can see either one of these guys. One's going to have 5 and the other one's going to have 25. Like that's where that gets that tricky.
Story of the life with these type of guys.
You don't want to have 2 of them in your lineup, but you do want to get 1 in there. Should I be worried about the Bucs running back room? I have Bucky, but with Tucker and White looming, it makes me worried. Bucky's the RB1 there now, but I think you're ultimately going to see them use multiple running backs. White's the one that scares me the most because it's like he's gone from being worth a late first to Snoog. Would you even pay a late second for Rachaad White right now?
No. Oh, no. Second? No.
It's close, right? Like, you're like, oh, second? Did you mean third?
Second, go get Joe. Use another second, go get Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon. RG.
Joe Mixon.
I have both Tyrone Tracy and Singletary. LOL. You think Tracy takes over? I don't think he takes over. I think there's a timeshare. The Giants know they suck. If Singletary's out, Tracy's going to put up 20 points a week because of his PPR upside. I think he's right there.
Let's
But the
play a
rest of
game,
the
Dan.
season, yeah.
Let's play a game. Starting running back rest of the season. I'm going to name 4 running back rooms. You tell me who the starting running back is in that room.
Are we saying like by the end of the season who it's going to be, or
Okay.
like?
No, ready? Whoever scores the most fantasy points in this running back room from
Okay,
right now
Go ahead.
to the end of
Go
the
ahead.
season.
rest
Bucks,
of the season, it's Bucky Irving.
Jaguars.
You're gonna hate me. I don't. Dernis Johnson.
Bills.
Dude, I love Dernis Johnson. I have him everywhere. Ray Davis, because I think this toe injury is going to bother James Cook.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Ray Davis is a touchdown beast.
Giants.
Oh, it's Tracy. I think
Tracy, I
Singletary's his time's
I
almost
agree
up.
with Tracy
you know.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Bills one's probably the toughest one there for me.
I have another one that's controversy, but I don't think it is. Patriots.
You're gonna say Gibson?
No, I think it's
Okay, it's Ramondre
but
Stevenson,
People
yeah.
have been, like, obviously a lot of people have been saying that Gibson and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's easily Ramondre.
I think Ramondre is going to look really good with Drake May. I think it's
Yeah.
definitely going to be there. Our fantasy football Discord, again, patreon.com/smash accept. Love it. Randall Hines said, Dad, you picked up guys like Bug Means Ty Johnson, Dernis Johnson before last week, and value shot up. You're right, because I put that out there on my waiver wires beforehand, and a lot of times we're just trying to look at that next guy up. Who are you guys adding in really deep leagues ahead of week 17?
Sean Tucker,
so that
if he hasn't been,
he's gone. So I'm with you. Like, we got to look at those guys that are deep.
Is this redraft?
Yeah, 100%. Because that's where we start to look at things where it's like,
Deep
who are those
league,
guys that are not owned? I think the difficult part is you got to look at guys that are the next man up, right? You got to look at guys that are deep sleepers. Right now, I start to look at guys
Elijah
that are
Moore.
Elijah Moore's an interesting one.
With Amari's departure.
I'm looking at guys on ESPN that are less than 30% owned or 40% owned. You got, let's start working our way down here. I mean, into the 30s. Ty Chandler, he's probably already gone, but he's in that 30 area. Demario Douglas is somehow only 30% owned. You've got to add him. I think you've got to look for Xavier Legette. I think is going to have another big week. I think he's somebody that's under 30%. Yeah. It gets really tricky to try to figure out where you're going to go with this.
Jalen McMillan, because if Godwin or Mike Evans ever gets hurt with how Baker's playing, Jalen McMillan could be a guy that really skyrockets. Another guy like Dameon Pierce with Cam Akers trade. He's the handcuff there. He's the starter if Joe Mixon goes down. He is coming off an ankle injury. There's a lot of times where that happens, where they get injured and it's time to go. Adonai Mitchell's a guy that I think is so talented. He's getting open on a lot of routes. The team, the coaching staff believes in him tremendously. If somehow that injury lingered for Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco plays a handful of games, I think Adonai Mitchell could start to carve out a role there. And another guy, Eric All, is someone that's interesting. That's a rookie tight end that could start to really perform towards the latter half stretch of the year for me.
My week 7 waiver wire and buy stashes, dude, just hit 1 million views. Love it. Love the support. Isaac Garendo is someone you put on the deep end, but I'm not super wild on that. Kamani Vidal is more of a priority for me because Gus Edwards is on IR. J.K. Dobbins has not been that healthy guy. You already said Sean Tucker. We already said Demario Douglas. Romeo Doubs is somehow way too cheap. Like, nobody owns Romeo Doubs. And then what I said is, don't waste your roster spots on wide receiver 5, 6, and 7. Prioritize these guys: Ty Chandler, Emmanuel Wilson, Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Dameon Pierce, and Jalen Warren. Like, if those guys are still out there, you don't want the back end of your bench being a wide receiver that's going to, on a bad week, give you like 7 points. Like, you're trying to go all in there. So I love that. Man, the questions are flying in right now. Ethan Carlson, wide receivers: Godwin, Smith, Pickens, Jameson, Williams, Christian Watson, Sutton. Only good running back on my roster is Pacheco. In Dynasty, I'm rebuilding. Should I sell, and for what running backs? No, you don't. Our rebuild process, Ethan, which you got to check out our video on that, is to have a running back void. You're losing every game, so you're winning. Now, I am trading George Pickens and Godwin. I'm trying to tear up off of those guys because next year's running back class is elite. I would keep Jamison Williams and Devonta Smith, but I'm moving Godwin and Pickens here.
I like keeping Godwin. I think you're not. I don't think you're gonna get the value worth of what points he's gonna put up this year. I've actually been entertaining trying to get him, get Diggs, get some of those guys because I just think the production Godwin's gonna give you. He's tied to Baker. He's there next year. He's there this year. He's healthy. I just think the production you're gonna get from a guy like Godwin's just it's tremendous compared to what you'll get if you sell him. So that's just my opinion on that. But yeah, I mean, if you can tear up and get like a stud, then do it all day long.
Mark Fisher says 25, 201 or Amari Cooper. I'm taking the 201. I think he's worth the 203.
Yeah, that's like a face value trade. Like today, Amari, at the end of the season, it's going to be the 201 very easily.
For sure.
But yeah, that's interesting.
JSN or Eckler redraft?
Eckler.
I that's a tough one. Start Eckler. Demario Douglas, Tracy, or Bucky.
Bucky.
Keep
starting Bucky. He's playing good.
If Singletary's out, I'm taking Tracy over Bucky.
Tracy, yeah.
Because now
look at matchup there.
Because now we're not saying
the Giants play.
Well, the Bucks play the Ravens and the Giants play the Eagles. So I would definitely play Tracy if that's the situation. Yeah. Trade here. We got Pariaco. This is on
Neighbors
YouTube. Trade Brees for Neighbors and Pollard. You just
smash
Neighbors
Pollard.
Neighbors over Brees at this point. I mean, that's what my running backs are: Kyron, Brees, Etienne, Brooks.
Pollard's a very good redraft running back. Just a solid RB2 that's going to get you 15 points.
15 points a week. 15 points or more in 4 out of 5.
He's a rock solid RB2 in redraft.
Kemba Walker says, "Hey, payday's on Friday. Strongly considering joining the Patreon."
Goated.
That is.
So, hit on the Patreon a little bit, Dad. The Discord.
I mean,
hit on it.
Now is the time. Honestly, we've been answering so many questions. Guys are. It's not just the start sits. It's the trades. And guys were saying, like one guy in particular wanted to trade for Rashee Rice. He was going to trade T. Higgins and 2 firsts. I talked him out of it. Next week, Rashee Rice got hurt. I said it was bad process to give up those firsts. That alone, think about that. Like you just saved your season, and now T. Higgins has been popping off. And we got these scenarios where, I mean, guys send me this every day. Here's my roster, Dad. Can you just look it over? Just that peace of mind. Be like, hey, did you think about this aspect? Did you think about that aspect? Should you trade this thing? Snoog and I are literally like, I showed you where I'm at. I'm winning at an 80% clip. Snoog is as well, where we're putting ourselves in a position where we're just looking at your rosters. And a lot of people, they'll just give you generic answers. Here's my rankings. Play with it. Snoog and I are literally saying, this is what I would do if this was mine. And we are treating this as a lot more personalized than, yes, there is great products out there with fantasy pros and football guys, and they are amazing. What we're trying to do is give you more of a personalized touch where we are, growing rapidly, but at the same time, we are giving you what we can give you every single week from our own personal standpoint.
What we're doing right now in here is what the Discord's like 24/7. Starts, hits, trade advice. It's literally like this: questions, and they're just getting answered, just nonstop getting answered. I check multiple times a day. Dad checks multiple times a day. We both have our own section, so you can reach out to us individual there. You can reach out through DM. There's also other guys in there. I added some of my buddies that I've met on here as just moderators that'll go in there and answer questions that are sharp minds, and tons of Dynasty leagues as well. And so many of the people in the Discord just like helping each other out. There's a whole section for just fantasy football talk, trade advice as well. And they're in there like answering questions, putting polls out. Everyone's voting on the polls for what trade. You're getting multiple people's advices. And I always remembered, for me, when I was just getting into the space, when I was trying to ask advice for trades and just hear someone else's process, it wasn't about, I'm not confident that mine's right. It's, I have this process in my head. I want to hear someone else's. I want to hear another person's. I want to hear another person's. I want to hear this person's, to kind of see what if my process is right and like what other people's are looking at this trade and kind of getting their process from it. So cool advice, cool spot for you to hang out, build connections,
Mhm.
and get in a bunch of dynasty leagues and redraft leagues
Yeah.
and get advice whenever you need it.
What was really cool is we got multiple guys into Scott Fishbowl. I met several of them like literally at the live event. We talk about things where a couple of us are talking about doing some live drafts next year where we're let's get back in that Philly area. Let's kind of do some live drafts. Let's do some fun stuff like that. Quick injury reports, and I want to kind of get an idea here, give you guys Cooper Kupp right now, and I'm going by, if you guys don't follow him, Deepak Chona, amazing guy when it comes to a sports medicine type aspect. Cooper Kupp, week 7 to be determined. Data's favoring his return in week 8, but he's been practicing. So I think if Cooper Kupp plays, you get him in there. We get Malik Neighbors back there. Likely return, no dip in production. I'm getting him up there. I have him all the way up as my wide receiver 4 for the week. Jaden Reed, ankle injury, returned to practice this week. I think you're going to be fine with him. Likely Nick Chubb playing this week, 25 to 50% workload. Love that. Derek Carr has a chance to be cleared for next week, but Spencer Rattler is going to be in again this week. I'm not touching that. Rashid Shaheed, meniscus, he's out. He's on IR. He's out for the next 4 weeks. If Olave can come back, it's his to own. Jordan Mason looks like he is in for week 7. Might dip a little bit more touches to Isaac Garendo. Debo, it looks like has a right now he's projecting as a 2/3 chance to play in week 7. Aaron Jones probably out a little bit longer, maybe another 2 to 3 weeks here with Aaron Jones. Tyler Chandler, fire him up. Devon Achane is in this week. Looks like Chris Olave is likely out. So you guys are in Dynasty. I'm making trades for Chris Olave right now. Would you do, if you were contending, would you trade Olave straight up for Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I just did that one today.
I just have this theory, even though I love Chris Olave as a player and I'm a huge Chris Olave fan. I was so high on him as a prospect. I have a feeling that he's just going to be like forever mid in fantasy football, like a DJ Moore, like a Terry McLaurin. And he's going to be that guy that everyone's like, he's so good. He looks so good. His elite metrics, analytics look great, but he just never has the quarterback in the situation where
DJ Moore was wide receiver 6, baby. Yeah, like he needs a quarterback.
6 years to get there.
I know.
He was on that like 1,000 yards and like 4 or 5 touchdowns a year, like fringe wide receiver 2, and that's literally what Olave's been. Olave's been a little bit better, but I just feel like Olave is more of like a top 20 than a top 10 guy.
Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like 40% chance of playing. Some optimism. Dallas Goedert is out at least 2 weeks. He's got that hurts because he's been fantastic. Looks like Travis Etienne, 50 to 60% chance of play, could re-injure. That's one I'm trying to avoid. Devontae Adams, hopefully he's back. I think he has a high re-injury risk, but I think he's there. Looks like Brian Robinson is in. Looks like Anthony Richardson is back this week, and I think you have an opportunity to buy low. Like if you can buy really low, I think you could really get in there. Yeah. Christian McCaffrey's a buy low because I think we're going to see him back by week 10. Jonathan Taylor says he is optimistic to play this week. I think he's a sell on the flip side. TJ Hawkinson, most commonly logged. He got one practice in. I think he's going to be back next week. Jonathan Brooks, and I'm just trying to hit them all. Jonathan Brooks, practice window is open. Jordan Addison looks like he's going to be out potentially another week or 2. Jerome Ford out this week. Ramondre Stevenson did not practice again. Looked like he was favoring towards being in week 7. And what do we got? Mike Evans left week 6 with an injury. He looks like he's going to be fine. So, there's so many things that are going on this time of year. So much to try to organize. So much to try to be like, I got to figure this all out. If you want to make it easy, join the Patreon Discord. Get yourself in there. Snoog and I'll take all the stress away from it. Like, there were guys that were in there. We were just talking on Sunday, and people were like, I don't know who I should start this week. Send me a roster. I'm going to help you out. I'm just going to say, here it is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, this is
exactly.
And then you make the decision after that. You know what I mean? Like, It's not a big deal. You go ahead and you make those decisions. So love it.
Card Fetish said he missed that question when he asked earlier the Mike Evans, DK, Terry. We said it would be DK, then Mike Evans, then Terry. Rest of the season for us.
Correct.
DK is the volume hog. Mike Evans is the spike week touchdown guy, and Terry has a decent floor, but I think he's too boom bust with touchdowns and yardage with Jaden Daniels too, especially a rookie quarterback. I think he's too boom bust. So I'm going to lean those two other guys over him.
I love it, man. I am ready for week 7. I am super excited for week 7. Guys, make sure you guys are following us on YouTube because we're putting out content. You know, every Tuesday and Wednesday, we've been doing live stream. We've been putting the podcast out there. We've been doing extra shows. We're really trying to give you the best dynasty content with some redraft twists in there that we can, you know, and I think there's so many questions here. We could be all night, but the only way to guarantee it is to make sure you guys get in those super chats. Thanks again for our guy, Finn Morris. You are now we're going to send you a link here when we're done. And yeah, I mean, thanks for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process.
Boom.